This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
It is the aftermath week now for Donna Adelson. She's now had a full weekend to let the reality sink in that, guess what? You've been found guilty. All of your, those reactions. You remember the Donna Adelson, it was a visible cry, a visible scream, a visible moment of disgust in the courtroom last week when Donna found out her fate, that she would, basically be spending the rest of her life behind bars. I don't know if it was the reaction to that fact or the fact that people saw through her BS and eventually was called out to it on such a public forum. We're going to break down everything that happened last week, what the future may hold for Donna, Harvey, and Wendy. Yes, everybody's a favorite American family. We're going to get into all that and much more today. Also going to be talking about the latest in the Kohberger investigation. What we're finding about that investigation as more tea leaves are dropped open to the public. And we're also going to be talking about the Long Island serial killer. We're going to go through that story and where the evidence has taken us now, that the DNA evidence has been admitted. That was a crucial piece to that case, where if that was not going to be admitted, it might be a little bit harder to point the blame onto Rex Heuermann, but that is now in. Anyway, that is all coming up. Our first hour here, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, joining us along with Stacey and Todd. Let's start here, Robin, as we go to the Adelsons and the big verdict that we had just the other day. What was your reaction to Donna's moment of shock in the courtroom?
We keep looking at these moments of shock from her, and we're not shocked by them now that we see them. I finally understood when I watched it again why she rubs me so poorly, and I don't like hers, because I've had people like this in my life that she's putting on such a psychological manipulation show. She's got a lifetime of reps of using that look to manipulate people. Her own family, again, pure conjecture, they don't feel, it's hard to imagine people feeling sympathy for her when she puts on that show, because it is so evidently a show. And I know people are saying, are there tears, not tears there? So what really got me, Tony and Stacey, when I saw her immediate reaction to this was, where did she go in that moment of distress? So think about this. This is where we put on our deep empathy hats, and it's like, all right, I am in this situation. I'm in this spot. I've had situations in my life when I felt such trauma hit me, and we have this emotional response and we collapse. We literally collapse into ourselves. We come down like this because we're contemplating and thinking, what just happened to my life? And so we go inside our own heads. And so what we saw from her, though, is she had that response and she's outward. You can actually catch her eyes looking around. What people's reactions are to her. It's completely incongruent. That's why she creeps people out. The other thing that struck me too is how fast the jury came back with the verdict. And I think it's because they didn't like her either. They just get rid of her, man. I don't want to see this look anymore. I think she thought this look garners sympathy from her family and friends. No, I think this look she has that gets people to do what she wants is because they want her to stop making it a horrible look. She just looks it's a horrible, ugly look that she has every time she has trauma response.
It's all to avoid the look. But in a way, Robin, you're exactly right. And that's the thing. This is someone who has ruled by fear throughout her entire life to her entire family. And the older son, Rob, really pointed it out well the other day in court when he was asked, so when things went, and I'm just paraphrasing, when things went well for Donna and what she was doing, she was getting her way. How was she? Well, she was basically said, she was pleasant, and she was kind of fun, and she was good to be around. Very typical for people like this. They're often very loved, very liked by their community, by those around them. Those that aren't too tightly close, so they're going to be affected by them on a deeper level. But then Rob also said, well, what happens when Donna doesn't get her way?
We saw that.
That was a very different story. She's not very happy. She's not easy to get along with. That's the look. It's the look, but it goes so far beyond the look. The look is like that's her initial, I'm going to try and correct this right now. And if they go beyond the look, if the look still doesn't get it, then she digs. Then she starts getting vicious. And then she just keeps going. And she's someone who just doesn't know when to stop. I don't think she's capable of stopping. She's determined. She's very, very determined. Overachiever, maybe you could say, in some areas, where she just keeps going. She does not respect the opinion. She does not respect the outcome or the consequences to her actions in any way, shape, or form, and has zero interest in any sort of reflection back on herself as to what those actions caused and their effect.
Relentless stupidity. That's what she has.
Yeah.
It's because she keeps doubling down in an echo chamber of her own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And she's bullied her family into going along with it or suffer the consequences of her relentless stupidity. I mean, when you just look at the stats and averages of probability of success of hits like this, I looked up the number. It's 0 to 40% of unprofessional hits get away with it.
Those are some bad odds, Robin.
Those are horrible odds. And but this is a great idea. Again, she doubles down on stupid. She's relentlessly stupid.
I gotta say, a 40% chance odd for something that you have zero experience in. That's
on the high end.
On the high end, yes, but I'm still surprised it goes that high. Like, I would think if somebody said, okay, we're going to put you out there in a home run derby with some of the best MLB players in the country. What's your odds of hitting a home run? I'm going to guess like between 0.1 and 0.5, not 40. Like, that's a pretty high odd almost for a completely inexperienced person, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. And the other thing too that compounds the relentlessly stupid is the number of people that were involved, because that decreases your odds down to zero even more. Again, remember, it's 40% of people, and it's very rare that people do this to begin with. 40% get away with it that actually might have 3 marbles rolling around, not half of one like Donna. Yeah. The other thing that she totally undermined herself and the whole family did, especially her, was that she has her emotional regulation, as we see, is horrendous, which means that her mouth won't stop running because it's running in a safe, as she thinks everything around her is a safe place. And which, well, I know we're going to get to Wendy, which makes it hard to imagine anyone in her circle doesn't know exactly what she's thinking, even if she's talking in her stupid double down code. So, I mean, just it's like the most ludicrous thing you could possibly come up with.
Well, what strikes me about this thing is you have Donna, who's a complete narcissist. There's probably other personality disorders going on here, but you also then have the children who were playing a part. At least we know that Charlie was, who are also very narcissistic, but they're also really insecure. They constantly need reassurance that what they're doing is right. They're constantly going back to mom. That's why there's all these conversations. That's why you have Charlie in the jail, constantly needing, without mom even directly saying anything, that he's in the right, that he's pleasing mom. They're constantly seeking the reassurance from Donna. And that's what kind of makes the difference in the dynamics of these people. You got Donna, who I don't know constantly needs the reassurance. She seems to, she likes it, but she just feeds off the energy of her minions and what they're going to do for her. But when they're gone and they're not able to reassure, everything's going to work out fine, Donna, she collapses. And that's what I think we're seeing here in real time, is this narcissistic collapse that's been going on. It hasn't been a slow one either. This has been, I think, some time coming, but there doesn't appear to be an end. There does not appear to be an end where either Donna has, bowed out, or she reaches some sort of acceptance as to the reality that she's in.
Well, she loses it when she loses control. Everything comes down to control. And I think her children, the way that they've responded to the world with this insecurity, well, what makes someone insecure? What makes someone insecure is when they've been demeaned, bullied, or treated poorly by others when they're at a younger age in those formative years. And so I imagine, pure conjecture, that one way that Donna exercised control over her children was to trauma bond them. Basically, it's like, hey, you suck, you suck, you suck. Oh, and I'll give you a little bit of praise. So why would someone seek praise from mom unless it was so sparingly given out? And so this makes a pattern behavior. So that's also the pattern they've learned in their lives of how we treat others. And so that's how these things get propagated generationally. Again, pure conjectures. I'm not a licensed psychotherapist. But that's typically what happens, why people behave in this manner, is because they learned it from someone else. Who else would they have learned it from, especially in such a cloistered family that's so controlled by Donna? And so, yeah, what we keep seeing with her is a loss of control everywhere. And how did she maintain control in her own life? He starts out with these emotional outbursts. And so as you've said, as her control's weaning away, it'll be really interesting. I don't think she's going to accept, I mean, can you see her accepting it? She hasn't accepted it yet, anything. That lack of control. I think she's going to get to prison, and in prison right now, and she's going to start learning how to control a new environment, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think she is going to take a few days to be depressed, cry a bit, and then she's going to start looking around and finding the ones in that population that can be manipulated. She's going to pick them out in a heartbeat. She knows exactly who they are. She will. I know these people. They can scan a room and figure out who they can go after. Yeah, it's really frightening.
She'll become the grandmother figure in jail, most likely.
But what about this? I mean, she's in a population of people that are pretty good at manipulating people.
That's a good point.
They're there. I mean, she's amongst her own. I mean, with her kids, with her family, she was not amongst her own. She was truly amongst people who she could manipulate and had many, many ways of doing so. They already figured out how to manipulate her. I mean, she thought in round one that she was manipulating everybody. That's how you ended up having the jailhouse snitch saying, oh yeah, she was going to give me a grand piano. She was going to give me $10,000. She was going to give me hair extensions and this and that and the other thing. And they knew that she wasn't going to do it, but they used her for what they got. And she got like a box of gas station snacks, basically, at the end of the day. Not a grand piano, not $10,000. Donna kept stringing her along and giving her just enough treats to keep her going. And then Donna disappeared. And then nothing ever happened because Donna strung that person along thinking, oh, I can just use this person too. Use them, chew them up, spit them out. I convinced her that she's going to testify for me. Well, when that's not going to happen, guess what? It doesn't matter. And she thinks that no one is going to turn on her. I think that's been one of Donna's biggest failures and obviously narcissists are not great at seeing their reflection from the rest of the world back to them, but she failed to see that anyone would ever turn on her through this whole damn thing. She thought whatever she did, whatever she said was going to be impeachable.
Yeah, she thought she's a lot more likable than she actually was. Yeah, and it'd be interesting in the jail scenario, you know, when you look at it's going to really come down to the population that she's in, because on the female side of prison, there tends to be more white collar type crimes, you know, and to Stacey's point, a lot of these people in there are skilled, but at the same time, if you're dealing with low recidivism, you know, white collar crime, I really don't. It'll be interesting. If it's a different than the male population than Charlie's in, no doubt. So, but again, I don't know where she's going to be, and I don't know the situation. The problem is you want her to feel suffering, and I don't know how. You know, in other words, she's not getting Kohbergered.
Right.
I don't know that Kohberger's feeling suffer. Well, I mean, he is. He's writing. He is. You're right. You're right. He is.
Don't burst my bubble. He's having a horrible time.
He is having a horrible time. I was just going to say, is he capable of? And he is I think in different ways than how we would feel it. And I think Donna's uncomfortable. Is Donna will feel suffering, but is it for the right reasons? Is it because she's uncomfortable in her current setting, or is it because she feels bad about what she did, that she participated in the murder? I don't think there's any guilt with her in that realm whatsoever.
I don't think so. I don't think she feels guilt at all. If she had, so when you do a murder for hire, there's always time to back out. So if she had felt guilt at all, she would have backed out at some point along the way. So no, I don't think there's any remorse or guilt because she hated that guy. You know, and so when you're so full of rage and hate, and you're living in an echo chamber where everyone else is agreeing with you, why would you have guilt or remorse? You know, her only remorse is that she can't, you know, be there controlling her family, and in her mind, be there for her family, be there for her grandkids. Because the first actions that they all took after the murder was that, you know, they ostracized the grandparents from them as well. I mean, this is all about control, 100% control.
I think that's what really made me hate Donna more than I already do. Was seeing the victim impact statements that we did the other day of the Markel children. Or the Markel grandparents, because it's been 11 years since this stuff went down, and they've seen their grandkids 3 times. So they've missed their entire childhoods. You would think that in a situation like this, where it's literally mom's family that's been charged and has gone to prison for murdering dad, that the system wouldn't necessarily be like, mom's the best choice.
Right?
Like, I this feels like a system failure to me as well. I mean, granted, Wendy has never been charged with anything. Maybe that's where they should have dug a little deeper into mom early on, because now
let's look at the stats. You know, and you can't see my research there. You know, the stats are saying, you know, the probability of it being her, because this is what, you know, I'm not a profiler, you know, I'm a behaviorist inside the FBI, but what the first thing profilers do is we look at the research, we look at the stats so we can start filtering out possibilities and bring to the forefront probabilities. Yeah. And, you know, when it comes to murder for hires, you know, they're what number did I give you, Tony? It's like 66%. It's spouse that initiates. And so if you are the Child Protective Services and we have a murder for hire, you know, underway here, you know, the last thing, they are literally put a 66% chance that they're giving the children over to the mother that might have committed the murder or been involved.
I feel like the system really goes against men in this regard. And I'm speaking, I don't have kids. Yeah. But I know in my own childhood, my parents were divorced and my dad was just this horrific creature. Thankfully, the system leaned toward the kids need to be with the mom. But I've seen wonderful, wonderful fathers who have just been slighted by the system. And the kids go to the mom, no matter how terrible she is, because God forbid they go with the dad. There is a stigma that really needs to be removed in this country about all of this, because I would swear to God, I mean, look, there's plenty of shitty dads out there without a doubt, but my God, this idea that mom is just the best, there is more manipulation, there is more narcissism, there's more there's more personalities. I don't have the stats in front of me, but my God, there's to just carte blanche go, well, you're the mother, you must be wonderful, right? Without like ever looking into this monster is insane. There are so many monstrous mothers out there that are doing unspeakable damage to their children, and the only reason they have the power is because they're female, and it's insane. I've seen it so many times. Yeah. And the system is stacked against men in that area, where men really do have to bring it if they're going to go and say anything or try and assert control for the goodness, for the betterment of those children. Otherwise, the system just pretty much defaults over there.
And I'm sitting here just with a big smile on my face because I'm thinking of our good friend Tony, who is the epitome of a great dad. Yep. You know, that shows that the stat is definitely on the favor of that. There are some great dads out there. My ex ran away. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there really wasn't a lot of battling, thank God. But there are dads who have to go through hell, who have to deal with somebody making up stories and shit about them and then battle that. And the system tends to still default on the mom's side. I mean, in no way am I saying like, look, men should just be trusted alone by any means. No. But I'm saying
The mom shouldn't be either. No one should be just trusted carte blanche. There should be, but again, this is asking the system to do far more than it already doesn't do.
Correct.
We already don't have enough people just checking on these kids when they're in foster care or when they're in the care of whichever parent that they may end up landing in. I mean, so if we're asking it to like, well, let's get in here and really get ahead of the game and figure this out beforehand, they're not remotely equipped to do such a thing. I mean, thinking you get ahead of that, you won't have the problems later, but that's two thoughts, and it's the U.S. government. So
that's a whole other podcast that we're not doing.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not getting political, but I mean, it's such a broken, damned system that it's easy for us to sit here on the corner and say, well, we should do this. Of course we should be great. But the thing is the public as a whole doesn't want to deal with it. It's an icky topic. It's a yucky topic. And we'd rather just sit there and pretend that everybody's going to do the best for the kids and things will work out. And if this isn't affecting our family directly, then it's just those other people's problems and they made poor decisions. So that's how they got there. That's not always how it works.
No,
I mean,
we've covered so many cases, Tony, where child protective services. I mean, how many times have you and I talked in the last 3 years about child protective services?
Oh my,
Oh, it's nauseating.
It's horrendous, and it's the saddest thing ever. I mean, God, I just keep thinking about Maddie Soto, and then that horrible monster Stephen Stearns that got away with that one, and then we look at Lori De Belvallo. I mean, all of this all came down to children that got victimized and were collateral damage, either intently or unintentionally by these, as the great comment in the chat is, by adults not adulting.
Yeah, I mean, has any, and I fucking hate that term, adulting. Too.
I know, oh my God, Robin, I'm like, he's gonna react.
Like,
look out, here
it is such a trigger. Like, look, once you're 18, you're a fucking adult. Grow the fuck up and become an adult. It's not adulting, just as much as I'm not going to go childing and like go play with blocks or something. You're a fucking adult. Grow the fuck up. It's not adulting day. You don't have the option anymore. It's not a choice.
Robin, the can is open.
I didn't do it. What is this? Assassin Class Y did. Oh, it's all right. We love you, though. Thank you.
My God! But I mean, it is just so frustrating, watching all of those dynamics play out in so many cases. When you have, and like going back to the Adelsons here, and all of this, and it does look like they're closing in on Wendy. Obviously, again, she's never been charged with anything. So this is all speculation, but maybe they should have looked at her sooner. Maybe they should have tried to dig at her deeper, because now you got her kids that are like mid-teens, and if mom goes away, I mean, that's going to be even more traumatizing. They're already dealing with the shit of their family and trying to figure out this stuff, and they're not little kids here where they can protect them anymore. Guaranteed, this is up for discussion, and God knows what's going on in that house, with Wendy and the kids, and what those conversations are. That's got to be horrific. And then now to be fearing that mom might be going away after all of this. And look, there's a lot of evidence that points that Wendy had some ideas here, that there was some knowledge. And I'm sorry, I don't buy anymore that she's a lovely human being and it's a complete victim of circumstance. And what really screws her over in my mind at the end of the day, long point coming, is the fact that she's not let those grandparents see the grandkids after all that time.
Yeah. So her not knowing, I thought hard about this after our last episode together, talking about her, because we heard the ex-boyfriend who's clearly still enamored with her, thinking that there's a 1% chance they'll get back together. Maybe he can be a conjugal visit for her in jail. He
was back then. He was enamored. I mean, that tape was 14 years ago, 11 years ago. But yes.
But it was interesting because when you look at the arc, as I look at everything as arcs of individuals, organizations, and family structures, the amount of communication they seem to all have and the lack of impulse control or voice control, vocalization control they have amongst each other, it would be odd. It would be a spike for her not to have an awareness of what happened. And now whether they have evidence of that or something like that is, I was watching a lot of lawyers because, as you all know, I'm not a lawyer. I don't do prosecutions. I was an investigator and a behavior.
Oh my God, I thought you've been a lawyer for the last 3 years.
I guess some people love coming at me on lawyer stuff, but dude, I just comment on behavior.
I know.
Smart guys. Sometimes you don't have to be a lawyer to be a smart guy.
No, you don't. No.
But
I was watching, a lot of lawyers talking about this case and why they didn't go after her first. And again, because Donna, they picked up that she's going to flee the country to a non-extradition country like Vietnam, so they had to go her. Or the fact that, maybe Wendy, instead of having half a marble like Donna, maybe Wendy's got 2 marbles rolling around. And so being a lawyer herself in some way, she knows how to not talk in code with her brother in prison. So maybe she was a little bit more sleuth with her communications. Who knows? Or maybe like guilt, innocent proven guilty. Maybe she really is the only family member, with the exception of the brother, that ran like a smart guy years ago, that didn't know what was going on.
And being a go ahead, Stacey.
A quick question, Robin. How many marbles are we supposed to have?
At least 3.
Okay.
At least.
The bar.
One of them needs to be the one that you flick, the one that breaks the other ones up.
I like 3.
I'm just curious. I'm just doing a little self-assessment, so I just want to know how many I'm supposed to have versus how many I'm
thinking 3, because when you hear the expression, always got 1 or 2 marbles rolling around upstairs. If you only hear people saying 1 or 2 marbles, and I guess 3 is the standard.
If you got 4 or 5, it's like you're doing pretty good.
We're at Weinstein level.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
My highly technical terms I like to use and throw around.
I love it.
So that's what got me on Wendy. And look, there's plenty of situations where grandma and grandpa should not be in the picture because they're going to be toxic, and it is up to the mom and dad to protect their kids from repeating the cycle of abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, whatever it may be. No matter how much mom and dad have changed, or grandma and grandpa have changed, or claim they've changed, although maybe they really haven't, and you know it, and you'd rather not subject your children to that. There's certainly points for that. I'm not saying a carte blanche grandparents should be able to see their grandchildren, because they feel like it. But I'm sorry, this is not a case where that's that. This is a case where it's insane. They had to literally get legislation passed to see their grandkids. Be after the family murdered dad. That is effed up. That is completely effed up. Adelsons, we'll of course keep following him. I know the other day, Georgia Kappelman, in a brief interview outside of the courtroom, I believe with Court TV, was asked about Wendy, and she said, "Stay tuned."
Yeah, I watched that.
Stay tuned, everyone.
And I'm seeing like 70%, 60 to 70% are saying they're going to go after the other side. They won't, because they would have done it already. So stay tuned. I think, hey, why not? Because someone said, if at this point they got a winning batting record, why not at least swing for it if they could?
And maybe they needed to really get these, and this will spell itself out in court easier, just as it did kind of with Donna. We needed these blocks in place to build this tower over here. Now this tower is built. Now we can build onto it and go after Wendy, because the Donna tower has been completed. We have the foundation now to go after Wendy. So
they showed the same arc. The lawyers are showing, the prosecutors saying that same arc of behavior about how they went to Charlie, how they went to Donna, and they build in the same way. So if we're following that arc of congruent behavior, it looks like they're gearing up to do that.
I would say this one piece of advice to anybody, including Wendy, before you have to go testify, before you have to go make a public appearance in something like this where a lot of people are watching you, be sure to instruct your Botox person not to inject you in ways that make you look like a Disney villain. It didn't work out well. I was watching some of her testimony over the weekend, and I'm just like, and I compared her to how she looked in previous testimony. Right. And she Disney villains that shit up. And I wonder if she did that on purpose. The way her eyebrows were, like, they weren't moving. They were very stagnant. And a lot of her, it was just like, God, Like, did she go in there and say, this is exactly how I want it? Or was there like some rogue Botox person there
I
going,
was going to say,
I'm going to fuck this bitch up?
it might have been somebody having an off day doing her treatments.
or not even that, just knowing this is Wendy Adelson. Oh, hi, Wendy. Great to see you. Come here.
You know,
You're Corella now. Have fun at trial.
I haven't seen the stats on this, but I actually heard someone talking about this when it comes to people doing work on themselves like this.
Yeah.
I think the percentage of people that actually come out better, looking better than they otherwise would have, is so low.
Yep.
And like you are playing again. It's going back to those laws of averages. If you're looking to make yourself look better, the chance of you coming out looking worse is much higher than looking better. So hey, let's just ride.
The goal of anything like that is not to look like you've had it done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It needs to look natural, and nothing about her face at this point looks natural. Her expressions don't look like something you would see in nature.
No. And look, I'm not anti-Botox. I mean, do whatever you want, everybody. You know, whatever makes you feel good and whatever. That's up to everybody. I would just say you might want to pick somebody different next time. I know a lot of people who get Botox and you'd have no idea they were getting Botox.
And that's a sign of a very successful person doing it.
Yeah. Maybe it was a Groupon. Maybe she's struggling a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of money going to attorneys here. Maybe it was like, you know, we got to go to this one. It's a buy one, get one free. Buy one half of your face, get the other half off. And, you know, I don't know.
Well, you don't want to just pay for the one eyebrow, for God's sakes.
No, she
That's
paid
the
for
problem.
both. But like, I'm wondering again, too, like, did you double this up? Were you like, in case I get arrested, can I get double the Botox? So I'm in there long. It stays longer. Prison Botox. There's a new industry. They sneak it in.
Is remember, you know, who's her audience, that for anyone doing these things. I mean, there's a lot of that goes into courtroom appearance and courtroom demeanor, what you wear. I mean, the type of, I mean, for guys that have numbered, you know, whether you're wearing a 2-button or 3-button jacket. I mean, there's a lot of courtroom appearance. And so I would imagine for her role that she's trying to play in that courtroom, that's not a look you'd be going for. If you're trying to garner sympathy from a jury, you want to have that loving, caring mom look, not this, you know, not trying to get the glam look on.
Do you think the Adelsons have any concept?
No, that's it doubles down on their self-centered narcissism, and the one aspect of control is they try to control perception that they have of others, you know, that others have of them, and so that's why people do it. Is they're trying to control the perception. And
when your prism is that broken, it's very hard to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, like Karen Reed, absolutely, 100%.
Yep, 1,000%.
But here's the thing: Wendy is a former attorney, correct?
Yeah.
You think she'd know? I mean, wouldn't she?
You're good at it. Well, no. Well, with so many folks like that, it's easy to look at other people and go, "Here's how you should do it." The self-reflection is the missing part.
This is why it's so important. People need a loving critic.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
I just did another podcast episode on my show today about, you know, all these exercises we can do for self-reflection are fantastic, and the path of mastery that we have for ourselves is really great. But if you're doing it in your own echo chamber, it just will fall short all the time. I mean, how many times do we see things posted on social media that you look at and say, why didn't you give this to someone else to read before you posted it?
Right.
Yeah.
Because people think they're smarter than everyone else, and they don't have the courage. It takes courage to give it to someone to look at who might say, dude, that looks like shit. Don't post that. You know, and so for her or anyone in these situations, if you don't have someone who's like the loving critic, and so for definition here, it's someone who cares deeply about you, but not the destination that you're choosing. In other words, they're there to give you that honest feedback without being personally assaulting you, just saying, hey, here's objectively what this is, and here's what I think is going to be a cause and effect from your action and behavior. And we can do it really effectively for someone else. Like I'm really high on this because I love being that loving critic for the people I care about in my life. At the same time, though, for myself, I'm probably 60% accurate, even as objective as I and pragmatic as I try to be and tend to be. I know when I get emotionally hijacked, in other words, or emotionally tied to the outcome that we seek, We are horrible at doing this for ourselves. That's why I post anything, I do anything. It's got to go through loving critics like Tony and Stacey, and definitely my wife. I mean, my kids, everyone weighs in. Then I make my assessment. It's like, all right, we'll do this. But she lacked it totally.
Yep.
That's a great point.
That's 1000% true, and a great way to live. Because no matter what, we're not good at it. We're just not. We are not good at that as human beings. No matter who you are, some far worse than others.
Well, you need that person that walks beside you instead of in front of you or behind you. You need that person who's just going to guide you right next to you. I'm in this for you. I am part of your team. You know?
Yeah. No. Completely.
So, these people don't have anyone on their team. You can see it.
They run everyone off of their team eventually as well.
Yeah.
Let's go and talk about Bryan Kohberger for a bit. In fact, we're going to take a little tour. This is probably the most horrific like homes.com tour you'll ever take. Or just most unimpressive. I mean, if you were just to look at this apartment, it's more of like an apartment.com tour. And it's not, just so you know, these are actual photos from the crime scene or the evidence photos. Obviously this apartment, not the crime scene. But we're going to take a look. A lot of these have been released over the last week or two. A lot of people have been buzzing about them. We're never going to go and tour the apartment or the home where the murders took place. We're not. But I am curious to take a look at the place where he called home, his nest, if you will. And Robin, I want to go to you and some of your picks first here, because I know you had picked out some specifically that stood out to you and you want to discuss. Let's go to the first one you have here. It looks like we have a birthday card standing in front of a flat screen TV, a little paneling on the wall there, and a lamp next to it. What stood out to you about this?
All right, there's a few things with this birthday card. There's a couple different shots at it, and I think there's a later shot too of inside of it. So what stood out to me on this one was there's writing on it. Someone personalized this to him, and 11/21/22. Oh my God! So I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little personal here. And I saw that date. I was like, I looked at my wife, said, "Oh my God, you and Bryan Kohberger share the same birthday." Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Oh my God.
Yeah, no kidding. But what's interesting to me was we had personalized writing in here, and my guess and conjecture is it's probably from the mom, and so I'm leaning in with that kind of conjecture that we have a birthday card from the mom, and everything we've seen in these little dribs in this card are as we're kind of seeing from what we're kind of getting from her. She is unconditionally supportive of him. And even in this, both of your egos. In other words, she's seeing a duplicity in him and she's highlighting it, not in a poke at you, hey, you need to work on this way, but hey, both are really good for you. You know, both, you know, in other words, she does nothing but see the goodness in him. Yeah. So that's the first. And also the other thing that stood out to me about this card, and when you take it in the context of the entire place, it is literally the only decoration there. Which goes through when you look at, so also we have to really take everything with context and sort of a grain of salt, because this apartment not just looks like an apartment of apartments I've seen before of psychopaths, because they're very empty of something that they identify with, because they're just empty shells. And so this apartment's a very empty shell with nothing, but with maybe a little drab, a little data point of the mom there. But also, I mean, I have my kids, you know, when they're in college, looking very much like this, you know, so not a lot of decoration and stuff too. So I don't want to overplay that, you know, that's an apartment of a psychopath. It could just be someone who's there for a shorter period of time that doesn't like having a lot of stuff to carry around and drag around. But it did stand out to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. That card is very interesting. And I think there's a lot of insight to be gleaned on mom. I'm not saying anything negative about mom, but you're exactly right. She really only sees the good in him, which is not a horrible thing for a mom. But if that's the only person that Bryan had as someone to bounce, that would listen to him and absorb him and shoot anything back, that's loving. Critic part isn't there.
Yeah, it's not. It's unbalanced.
Yeah. And and it's an interesting that card. There's like he's riding a dinosaur and he's very it's like,
Weird.
oh, so you're very proper, which he is in many ways, and then you're out of control, like this
Rage.
ravenous dinosaur of rage.
We know he's got rage issues, and so I think she chose that card very purposely. Maybe a subtle hint at that aspect of him. Well, not because. So it's interesting, when we place ourselves in her shoes the best we can, she's trying to maybe give data points and hints at things that you could work on without provoking him to be defensive and shut her down. Because, as a parent, what we try to do is we don't want to behave in such a way that our kids are going to shut us out, especially if she's the only one that he seems to communicate with. So she's probably in a mode where I'm doing all I can to save him. Kind of like your dad is. And so, by doing something to shut him down, it's not going to be helpful. At the same time, can I lay a little thought in here, about the duality here of proper, Theodore Roosevelt of an intellectual. At the same time, you're riding your rage.
Yeah. And that's the balancing act that so many parents have to face so often is don't get to the point where they're going to shut you out. But at the same point, don't be so passive that you provide zero guidance to those children. But at the same point, that's where the infrastructure needs to be built early on. So they're willing to take the information and listen to it and grow with it and take it in ways that they will absorb it and not have an instinct to run away. But I get it. In some situations like this, where you have a Kohberger and you got a brain that's broken and that's simply the way it's going to work, I can see where if you fear that your child could be capable of doing something horrible and you are the only line of defense between them and doing that, you're in a really tough place because you can't just call the cops and say, I think my kid might be capable of doing horrible shit. He's never done it yet, but here's what I think. Nothing's going to happen. And then if you are pushed out and you are blocked away, then guess what? Society is all that's left between you and your kid.
She's riding hope.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that. And I think that's why it is important, especially when we are looking at prosecuting parents for the school shooting stuff. Plenty that's certainly needed. If you're buying your disturbed kid weapons, you need to go away too for the rest of your life. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're an idiot, and you're a good chunk of the reason your kid did what they did. But if you have if you can show your track record of I have a ton of empathy for the parents that are just, you got a broken brain over there.
So I mean, I keep thinking about this card. I mean, just think about how prophetic that is, that the mother was able to identify, again, if it's the mom that sent it, was I able to identify him riding his rage. And so if you look at the dinosaur represents our reptilian brain, and the reptilian brain is our non-cognitive, non-thinking brain. And that's exactly what that card is symbolized. It's such a symbolic thing because that's exactly what he wound up doing. He was in such a fit of rage when he went and murdered those children that he was riding his rage. It's funny. And that's the thing he has on display in his apartment. It's crazy.
Isn't it creepy? Yeah. I mean, when you look at him, I mean, he looks like an autistic lizard. I mean, when you talk to him,
Goodness.
He does. I mean, he operates in such a reptilian way. He really does.
100%.
And I think there's a lot of weird things connected in that card. And I don't think his mom thought that deep on getting it. I'm sure it was just in the Walgreens, like, which one should I get him? Oh, little Bryan liked dinosaurs when he was little. But
it may have resonated with her. Something might have clicked that this is the perfect card for my boy. And maybe she didn't know why, but it just jumped off the
It's exactly him though. He's trying to be the professor, but he's got this massive rage issue, which was part of his life arc that everyone kept talking about. And we saw with 77 stab wounds, that is not someone who's being meticulous and thoughtful. This is someone who's in a fit of rage because something didn't go the way he wanted or was planning on it going. So he lost his shit. So and that card shows someone trying to control their shit.
That's the most insightful look at this card that I've heard from anyone yet, Robin. That was good. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. You get the viral moment of the day.
Riding the rage.
Yeah, people are going to be talking about your take on that card because that is a very interesting take. I agree. I agree. What's another one that you had picked out from the home choice here?
So let's keep on the card one more time. I feel bad. I'm gonna make Todd jump around. So if we look at the inside of the card, that is, I wrote these things down too. There it is. Look at that. Okay, so look at that smiley face on the inside of the card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now go to photo 644. So look at that smiley face. See the horizontal, vertical eyes?
Yeah.
Look at the outside of the office door.
It's the same eyes.
So this just is more confirmation bias of that's Bryan Kohberger's office. I'm not sure who wrote that on his office door, but isn't it interesting that it actually mirrors exactly the only other thing he saw of a sign of endearment from someone about how to show kindness, show that I'm open, show that I'm there. So it was just interesting to me. And the smiley face, the edge of the mouth is a little bit differently, but I saw the eyes, the vertical eyes being very similar. So again, Bryan has shown, or Kohberger or BK, whatever we want to call him, so not humanize him, has shown that he is nothing but a copycat. And so there's just another example of him trying to be a copycat in an area that he had zero skill, and that is to try to make a welcoming place.
Yeah.
If he wrote that, if he did the hello,
again, pure conjecture.
He doesn't. It doesn't.
That's not his writing. Hello is not his writing.
No. What I want here's another take on it. If it's not him, it's somebody that knew just how off-putting Bryan Kohberger was, and he did share this office with another person. He shared it with a woman who has, I don't know, she was going to testify, but she had some of her testimony or her accounts of Bryan have come out in this, and they did, they got along somewhat more than him and most other people. But I do wonder if she put that there because she knew Bryan was so off-putting that it was like, I got to put a little extra, carrot on a stick out here for people to come in.
Say help.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, maybe that was like that. It should have said help, but it said hello, more like welcome. Come on in, please. Don't keep me alone in this room with this creepy man. I could see that being that as well.
Or just I see the vertical eyes as the link. So maybe he had that card and brought it to work to show her that someone actually did care for her. I don't. I just saw it in an unusual way for eyes to be drawn that I don't see all the time, and I saw the link between the two. So that's what drew me to it.
I could see it. I mean, it's
something to it. Maybe not.
It's hard to know. It is, but it does make you think a little bit. What other ones?
Riding the rage.
What other pieces have stood out to you here so far?
So, the only other thing that really stood out, because everything kind of blended together as just being very kind of typical. The thing that was alter egos, 210, photo 210 was, I thought the comment on here was pretty telling as well. And this is at the bottom, only answer the question asked. So his writing style, again, there's so many photos and so much.
Let me ask you quick. Is this a the part that's in handwriting here, is this from his professor criticizing his writing, or is this a paper he's grading and it's his writing?
That's what I was wondering too.
I don't know. It was hard to tell. So I'm thinking, so here's how I took it. I took it as
it's not his handwriting. So I'm guessing and I think the paper itself earlier said Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah, I think it's a paper he wrote. And I found the answer, it down there is being very telling of him. And that is answer the question asked. So he writes and shares information to pontificate, to display his intelligence, because when he doesn't know something, he'll just keep doubling down on, I'll overwhelm them with information. This goes to what I keep saying, and a lot of people keep saying, is that he's not intelligent. He just has a lot of words. He fixates on things. And so this is an example, I think, of him just fixating and not answering a question that's being asked because he knows better than the professor is actually asking the question. Here's what you really meant to ask, and I'm going to give you this. So I found that just kind of another data point, telltale sign of what he tends to do is over overshare information that wasn't even asked.
Wouldn't you love to see a paper of his that he put notes on? Because after seeing the way he wrote out that stuff in prison and how illegible and horrible looking that was, I mean, this looks like a professor's that graded this on for him. Oh. I would love to see what those looked like if somebody has a graded paper from Kohberger, because we have heard stories where he was very hard, would go over the top on notations to the female students. I really wonder what those papers looked like.
Yeah, me too. And Teresa put a great comment there that it could have been a birthday card from the coworker, not the mom. Boy, that'd be interesting.
That's true, because that would be the similar.
Similar smile.
I'm pretty sure that was the one from the mom. I could be wrong. I could very.
I'll tell you, if that was actually, if he put it on display at home, that would be pretty incongruent, actually. But it would be interesting if he put it on display at home, a birthday card from his coworker. Mm-hmm.
Was there another card from mom in that? I didn't see another card.
I didn't see another card either
in the whole mix. So I could be wrong, and I know that one of the cards was from mom.
Thought, and Teresa, an interesting thought though. I hadn't considered it from anyone else, because again, we haven't seen him have actually a connection with anyone that he would actually, at least from my context, that he would actually display anywhere except the mom.
Yeah. Any other pieces from the Kohberger home tour that stood out to you, Robin?
No, because the whole thing just kind of blended together for me. Everything I saw was what you didn't see. What you didn't see was personality. What you didn't see was anything except taking care of business, and his business was study. That was it, 100%. That's all that I saw.
Let me ask you about this: the utter amount of disarray in the home. I mean, it was a messy house. I mean, and we've been thinking about this guy as very rigid, very OCD, we've heard his diagnoses and all that, but there was portions of it was very empty. I mean, it looked like basically like you were staying there for a week, not like you were living there. But there was some really messy spots where it's just piles of stuff. I mean, it looked more like an average, I guess, space where a late teen, early 20 college male might be staying that has no interest and rarely comes home.
Yeah. So, and thanks for reminding me of that, Tony. So our good friend Jennifer Coffindeffer really pointed out that, this is not the apartment of someone with OCD. Mm-hmm. So my thought process of him being OCD, definitely not that. But at the same time, though, both my kids have way messier places than that was. So I didn't find it
true.
Really out of a norm for someone living by themselves.
Mm-hmm. It
was kind of congruent. But what really struck me, though, which I think goes to his planning, disorganized. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really, he will fixate on one thing and do that one thing really, really well, like cleaning up after himself after he, committed these horrible murders, which is like the only thing he did well. But everything else was complete chaos, because you saw from the apartment, there wasn't a lot of structure and order to what he was doing. It was kind of all over the place, and his brain, just a chaotic brain. So chaotic brain, chaotic place. There was no organization to how he had his books, to how his papers were stacked. There's no organization to it. It was all there, but it was shotgunned. And so that's what really struck me as well, which kind of gives the same data points of how he did what he did. He had an idea of what he was going to do. It didn't play out the way he thought it was going to play out, and went into chaos. He
does have OCD, though. I mean, that is part of the diagnosis. He's autism level 1, OCD, ADHD, and ARFID. What's it? I mean, it's not usually something you turn on and off. That's right. That's the weird thing about Kohberger. Or is he mimicking someone with OCD?
Yeah, everything with him's a mimic. Everything's a copycat. There's not one original thing coming out of him. I don't.
Like
maybe his breathing.
the ARFID, that's the one about the food where it's he has difficulty eating out of pans that have cooked meat and all that sort of insanity. Yeah. I wonder where that one came. I mean, I know like a lot of his friends have said that kind of came in when he lost all that weight when he was a teenager. But I wonder what the influence was. What was it that struck him that said, it's a good idea that I only eat meat from a pan that's only cooked, or only eat vegetables from a pan that's never touched meat. Where did that idiosyncrasy come in and say this must be the best way to do it?
I think, to me, it just gave him a different thing to fixate on. And so he was getting some sort of emotional stimulation from it. He's probably being emotionally rewarded for losing weight. So it actually, it was self-perpetuating feedback loop on it. Just why I think he got into criminal justice, because he had that one professor, Ramsland, who said, hey, you might be halfway good at this. Oh, really? I'm all in. So I think when we get rewarded for something at an early developmental age, and we have loving critics like his dad trying to shift from meth to healthy eating, I mean, I could probably do it.
Yeah.
What a weird conundrum. I've studied animal welfare and behavior in my graduate studies, and people who tend to be vegetarians, it's yes, for health reasons, but a lot of it is for empathy for animals. So to see this man fixated on, I cannot eat meat. And one of the pictures that I wanted to highlight was a Safeway receipt where he spent, was it like $20-some on fake meat product?
Right.
I mean, he's really leaning into the vegetarian lifestyle. And yet look at what he did to living creatures. It's just this weird paradox of what the fuck did he do?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't because he loved animals. Nope. I think it's a fad. I think it's a fixation, because he fixated on criminal justice. He fixated on these serial killers. And so I literally just think his vegetarianism is fixation. I don't think it's anything more than just his broken brain trying to do something that stimulates it in some way.
Then he fixated on fake meat and said, I wonder what all the fake meat tastes like.
Yeah.
Although I've done that before. He
was getting positive attention for losing weight. And so it came down to that.
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. Robin, I know you have a hard out and you need to head out. So Robin Dreeke, thank you for being here. Retired FBI Special Agent, Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. I think we'll see you Friday, right?
At the very least. I'm here all week.
All right, awesome. We'll talk later in the week. Stacey, was there any other? Thank you, Robin. Was there any other ones you wanted to touch on here while what were the other ones you wanted to hit?
Very much so. Picture 492, and there were 500 some photos to go through here. So what 592 is just a very basic piece of paper. So if you can zoom in on the white part of this, this is basically drug instructions, something about your medication. I did a deep dive into a different picture where I found the National Drug Code for something. They had blocked out what the medication was. Well, I knew how to look this up because I've worked in the veterinary industry for 8 years. And he's on levothyroxine.
What is that? That
is a treatment for hypothyroidism. So if your thyroid's not working correctly, this will help. Now,
thyroid can affect a lot of things.
Correct. And that's exactly where I'm headed. And I speak to you as somebody who was awake this morning at 3:00 Central Time with a cat who was out in the living room yowling. He's a senior cat. He's 14 years old. It's very possible we are moving into, for cats, it's hyperthyroidism versus hypo. So there's two different versions. And what happens is the brain starts to change. Their behavior starts to change. They become agitated. You see changes in their mental stability. So that's a warning sign in cats. If they're yowling in the middle of the night, they're inconsolable, like you can't get them to settle down, they're agitated. In humans, now granted, I don't know much about this, but I did look up that if your hypothyroidism is not correctly controlled, you could have, what did they say, jealousy and persecution delusions and behavioral problems, including agitation, aggression, insomnia, and obsessions.
What's the medication he's on?
Levothyroxine.
How do you spell that one?
It is LEVOTHYROXINE.
They spell that so you can easily remember it when you're at the doctor's office.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Psychotic symptoms appear in roughly 5 to 15% of affected patients with hypothyroidism. Now, I am not a medical practitioner. I don't know what his history is. I have no idea if it was well controlled or not. But if you've got a thyroid disorder, things are askew.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got mental illness on top of that,
Yeah.
I imagine this could be a big factor.
Autism level 1, OCD, ADHD, and ARFID.
And these are mental health issues. So,
Where's the code on this? Am I not seeing it? Or is
it's not on that photo.
It's on a different one? Okay.
Shoot, it's like, I think it's right around there, Todd. I'm so sorry. I don't have it.
We don't have to show it. We don't have to show it if we don't.
But
I just was curious. Yeah.
I
It's
was
on there
scrolling
then.
through and I recognized it says NDC and there's a long digit code. And I went, I've seen this before. Look it up. So I went and looked it up and it was levothyroxine.
So they didn't do a very good job on blocking that one out. That is probably actually a OSHA issue. But
Todd, I bet you got it. Go up. Yep. I bet it's that sheet under the survival kit. It's the white piece of paper. I think.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. There's I think an NDC code. Because I was trying to find, well, what medication is this? Yeah, there it is right there. There's your
found
NDC
out.
code. Yep. So if you ever see an NDC code, you can copy that number in and do a Google search. It'll show you what drug that is.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to be covert. That's just like a coding system.
No, that's just how it works. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering, was there something else at play here that we never really focused on, that he had not just these mental issues, but a medical concern that might be exacerbating his mental health issues, because maybe it wasn't well controlled. Maybe it was controlled as best as it could be. Who knows what that was? But having a messed up thyroid affects everything.
It does. I've seen that in many people, and it takes some time to try and get it under control.
Yes.
And I've seen people just spend decades trying to get it under control. Wow. Well, I think we have some breaking news here that you've just discovered, Stacy, that Kohberger was on levothyroxine.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that plays a huge role in all of this. So there you go. Well, that's a new little piece of information that.
Well, I've been hanging out with a journalist, so it's rubbing off on me. I do a little investigative stuff.
I think the internets are going to find that to be very interesting. As they was there any other pieces? And we're going to go through in just a few moments and talk about the autism level 1, the OCD, the ADHD, the ARFID, and what they all mean to Kohberger. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Before we do that though, was there any other photos that you had come across that you said,
428. It's a picture of his closet.
Okay.
And Robin touched on it a little bit, but what really struck me was it's his closet, and I didn't see a lot in there. I think it's his closet.
Yeah, pretty empty.
There's hardly anything in it. Maybe I grabbed the wrong number.
I saw I did see a picture of the closet. There was just like a couple shirts hanging, and it was again what I said earlier. There it is. It feels like he just checked into the Days Inn for a couple days.
And if you want to zoom in at the bottom, there's a packaging that's got blue and green on it. So on the right, I know that package because I just moved. That is a Sealy mattress protector. So I just moved out of my home of 20 years and I needed to buy a new mattress. I needed to buy a mattress protector. I have that same bag. I threw mine away. Kohberger left it lying at the bottom of his closet, which doesn't mean anything, but I immediately recognized it. Like, was that a new mattress protector for some reason, or was that the original? It just, it stuck out to me.
I'm going to assume new. I mean, he was in a new place. I don't know. I mean, he's in a new place. This was a new, apartment. I got to say.
Do you hang on to stuff like that? Like he's got the microfiber pillow there. He's got the sheet sets, whatever. Do you hang on to it or do you throw it out?
Well, and that's just a plastic. That's not like one of those vinyl bags with the zipper. Right. This is just a junk piece of plastic. So again, for somebody who is OCD, allegedly, that's a weird thing to just have lying there. That's garbage.
Yeah, that is. I mean, if you're I got to say, when I have plenty, I just cleaned up my closets the other day. I learned
something about you.
Yeah, there was 5 bodies in there of missing people. Holy shit! I've done
Right?
so many murders I didn't even know it. But no, I just rearranged everything. But I found a lot of like stuff like that because I find when I'm like doing things like putting a new mattress cover on or this or that, I got it out of the bag. Okay, I'm just going to toss this over here for now,
Okay.
and then I'm like I'm picking things up later, and I do have a closet that was kind of becoming a catch-all, and sometimes I'll just toss it in there. It ended up becoming a great bag for me to use for junk as I was cleaning up, and I just started putting things into that bag.
Yep.
I didn't keep it specifically for that. It was just more so laziness, and I only have a very small garbage can in my bedroom, so I didn't want to jam the whole thing up.
Makes sense.
So I could see it, just being there. I don't know, but it does speak more to the OCD because if you think you clean it up, but there was so many things in his house that he did not clean up. So it does really make me question at what level of the OCD are you? Because there are different, it's a spectrum like anything else. It's because you have OCD doesn't mean you're sitting there, lining up your forks and or bringing your own forks to the restaurant and doing things like that. It can be very, very specific things and very focused, rigid things that he has obsessions on. But it is fascinating to see just kind of all over the board this brain is. And it does kind of make me wonder, okay, he has these disorders. Is he mimicking any of them? Did he learn, has he always had them? I mean, not that you can mimic autism. I suppose you could mimic autism, but only you would know that. But there's a lot of things in there that make me wonder about just what was going on with him in his mind. I think that's the fascinating part about it.
Well, and I feel like was he officially diagnosed with autism before this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing it wasn't well managed, that he wasn't given resources to deal with it. And I'm starting to learn that that's a very common feature in our world. We'll diagnose somebody with something, but then we're not going to give them the fucking tools to deal with it or the people around them.
No, I mean, because oftentimes it's just done by your general practitioner, and then it's like, good luck.
Yeah, go forth and do whatever you do.
Yeah, go figure it out. I mean, that's how we deal with most of these things. And then here's some drugs. Your thyroid levels came back shitty. Take this.
Yeah, and good luck.
And maybe that'll help clear up everything else along the way. And hopefully along the way, you don't murder 4 people.
These are things that need to be managed, and they need to be lovingly managed for you and for the people in your life, because this is a different way of dealing with things. It's a different perspective. So if you're not dealing with how people look at the world, they're constantly butting up against, I don't fit in. I don't fit into this mold. So there's this constant state of agitation. Yeah. And then they start doing the self-soothing activities to try to make themselves feel better. Well, then you start getting into this vicious circle that they sometimes can't get out of. Yeah. And I'm not saying that the people around him didn't manage things correctly, but if they had a more loving hand about dealing with him and what he needed, maybe he wouldn't have gone off the rails.
Nobody's trained to do that. Nobody knows what to do with that. You wouldn't know what to do with it. I wouldn't know what to do with it. You'd just be like, get the fuck away from me, you weird creep, because he would turn you off so much you'd almost feel unsafe around him. And he'd initially be like, why do people feel unsafe around me? And then it just continues to spiral, and you realize everybody feels unsafe around you, and then you become unsafe.
But that's the thing about, I've been reading Temple Grandin's books on autism. When you can go past that first level with somebody with autism and find out how they think and how they see the world. Sure. Suddenly you can align yourself to a different perspective. How can I help you deal with this? Just because I see it a certain way doesn't mean it's right. Yeah. Doesn't mean your way is right, but we can come together somewhere. And granted, there's more severe cases, but he was level 1.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a diagnosis. I would take it that may not be very accurate. I mean, again, I'm going to guess general practitioner in and out. Now, level 1, they said, who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a label. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's seeing things from other people's perspectives. And it's not hard to understand most level 1 autistic people and how they're seeing things. It's not difficult.
And they are everywhere. A lot of people don't realize that they are everywhere.
Yes, we see things extremely different. We do. Hi, how are you? But it's not that difficult to see things. I mean, it's not also evil. I also want to point out, somebody had said, I've been on that drug since 1992 and I have no issues. In no way am I pointing that drug out to say there's any issues with it. We're talking about, okay, he's been diagnosed. Why was he taking that drug? And that apparently is one of the primary reasons for that drug. I'd be curious if there are other reasons why that drug would be prescribed as well. But the hypothyroid or the whatever it is with the thyroid would make a lot of sense in terms of emotional well-being and balance. So I think it's a big clue into what's going on in his brain and how he functions and what is driving all the emotions and all the chemicals in his body that make Bryan Kohberger's brain. So no, I mean, yeah, if you're on that, great. I mean, it's in no way a dig at the drug whatsoever.
Oh God, no. And the thing is when you've got a hormone disorder, it messes you up entirely. And I'm speaking as somebody who's in menopause and had no estrogen running through her body. Tony, we don't have to go into great detail, but you saw what happened to me before my estrogen was under control.
There's 8 missing people in her neighborhood. They've never found them.
It was horrible. Fuck you both.
No, not me. I'm just laughing at him. Don't.
You saw me. There's 8 missing people. They're still missing.
But I'm not kidding. Oh,
no, because they look at you and they're like, she's short. She couldn't have done it. And these were all tall people. And there was this weird shit that was scribbled on people's like garage doors in spray paint at a lower level that said "fuck the tall," and they're still gone. So I don't know, but they're like, oh, I see something, say something, and nobody's doing anything. Just like she's harmless. Harmless, that Stacy.
That sweet Stacy Cole. She would never do anything like that.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into learning about these things that he has been diagnosed with. This is a piece I just put together the other day. It's also, you can check it out on the channel by itself if you want to, share it with somebody. Autism level 1, OCD, ADHD, and ARFID. This is a dive into all of that. To take a look at Kohberger, and when we come back, we'll talk about Gilgo. So stick around. Even after Bryan Kohberger confessed to killing 4 college students, one question has never left the public imagination. Why? Because when you look at what happened in Moscow, Idaho in November of 2022, there is no simple answer, and you're never going to get one. The victims didn't know him personally. They weren't part of a feud with him. They weren't in danger because of the lives they were living. They were just 4 young people in a college town. And then one night, all at once, they were gone. Months later, in 2025, Kohberger quietly scribbled something on a court document that made people stop cold. He was waiving his right to a mental competency hearing. But in the process, he disclosed 4 diagnoses: autism spectrum disorder, level 1, obsessive compulsive disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and something most people have never, ever heard of, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, or ARFID. It read like a checklist of his mind. Some saw it as him peeling back the curtain on himself, as if these clinical terms were clues to the violence that he carried out. But here's the truth. Those words may give us insight into who he was, but they don't come anywhere near explaining or excusing the choice to walk into a home at 4 a.m. and end 4 lives. Let's go back to that night. November 13th of 2022, a rented house on King Road, right next to the University of Idaho campus. 6 students lived there. Only 4 would die. Investigators believe the killer entered around 4 a.m. He moved fast, efficiently, room to room, and by the time he left, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were all dead. One roommate later recalled opening her door after hearing noises. She saw a man in black wearing a mask walking right past her and out the front door. He didn't run, he didn't lunge, he glided past her, almost calm. She froze in place, locked her door, and convinced herself she hadn't really seen what she thought that she saw. By sunrise, the reality was undeniable. 4 students, 4 lives cut short in brutal fashion. For weeks, there were no arrests, no names, just fear and speculation, but investigators were building a case. They had a white Hyundai Elantra on camera circling the neighborhood. They had cell phone records showing someone's phone pinging near the house 12 times before the murders, nearly all of them late at night. And then there was a knife sheath, tan leather, stamped with a Marine Corps insignia, left behind next to one victim. On it, DNA. That mistake would undo everything. On December 30th of 2022, Bryan Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. A criminology PhD student from Washington State University, just miles from the crime scene. A man who studied criminal minds, taught classes on policing, and according to prosecutors, spent months planning a massacre. People who knew him weren't shocked. They were unsettled, but not surprised. At WSU, where he worked as a teaching assistant, female students complained he was condescending, dismissive, openly rude. One professor warned colleagues that if Kohberger ever became a professor himself, they'd one day be reading headlines about him stalking or harming women. He cornered students in doorways. He relished tears and tearing others down in debates. He gave off the kind of energy that makes people joke nervously about incels, men who stew in bitterness towards women. Except in this case, the joke didn't feel so funny once the truth actually did come out. Even his high school friends remember the transformation. Back then, Kohberger was overweight, bullied, awkward. He fell into heroin use back in his teens, despite it was a desperate escape, rather, to get himself away from the animosity and adversity. He reinvented himself, basically. He dropped the weight, had surgery to remove the excess skin, swapped heroin for control over food, over his body, over his image. His friends said it was extreme, punishing, and his personality shifted just as hard. He became aggressive, alpha-like, putting friends in chokeholds to show his strength, belittling them to feel superior. The kid who once felt like nothing decided he would make everyone else feel smaller than him. All of that is a backdrop for the diagnosis he revealed years later: autism, OCD, ADHD, ARFID, lots of letters. They're clinical terms, but when you lay them alongside his behavior, they do take some color. Let's start with autism, level 1, sometimes called high-functioning autism. People on this end of the spectrum live independently, succeed academically, even thrive in certain areas, but they may miss social cues, struggle to read emotion, fixate intensely on narrow interests. Think about how people described Kohberger: flat, unemotional, detached, awkward in social settings, fixated on criminology with a zeal that went beyond academics. Autism could help explain some of that. And here's the thing: autism doesn't make someone violent. Studies show people on the spectrum are no more likely to commit crimes than anyone else. In fact, they're more often victims. Millions of people live with autism. They struggle socially sometimes, yes. They feel like outsiders, yes. But they don't break into houses and kill. Some actually create podcasts about murderers. So while autism might have shaped Kohberger's demeanor, it doesn't excuse what he did. Then there's the OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, not the I like my desk neat stereotype, the real thing, intrusive, unwanted thoughts and rituals that temporarily quiet them. For Kohberger, control seemed to define everything. His relatives described his eating rules as extreme. He refused to eat food cooked in pans that had ever touched meat. Family had to buy new pots and pans just for him. It wasn't veganism, it was obsession. He studied forensic science like someone preparing for battle, wrote papers on how investigators avoid leaving trace DNA. When he allegedly carried out his murders, he turned to his phone, wore gloves, stalked the house in advance, all the signs of someone compulsively focused on control. But again, OCD doesn't create killers. In fact, most people with OCD fear harming others and go out of their way to avoid it. Kohberger's excessive streak might explain his meticulous planning. That doesn't erase the fact that he chose violence. There's ADHD. We think distracted, restless, but ADHD can also mean hyper-focus, locking onto one thing so completely, you shut out the rest of the world. Kohberger's hyper-focus was crime. He lit up when classes turned to the gory details. He was consumed by criminology. Did ADHD make him kill? No. Did it feed Kohberger's fixation? Maybe some of that, possibly. But planning a murder weeks in advance, circling the house over and over, covering his tracks, that's not ADHD chaos. That's deliberate. And then you have the ARFID, the least known. Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. It's not about body image, it's about fear and control. People with ARFID eat only certain foods, avoid textures, sometimes even fear choking. Kohberger's obsessive diet, his rigid rules, his visible anxiety about food, that fits. It tells us how tightly wound he was. How much he needed to control even the smallest details of his life. But ARFID doesn't lead someone to violence. It just shows us the mindset, a man so rigid, so consumed by control that even dinner had to be a battleground. So do those 4 diagnoses explain Bryan Kohberger? They explain quirks, yeah. They explain his detachment, his obsessions, his need for control. They may help us understand why people found him so strange and so unnerving, but they do not explain murder. They do not excuse the decision to stalk, plan, and slaughter 4 young people in their beds. Because here's the truth, millions live with autism, OCD, ADHD, ARFID. They go to work, school, raise families, work jobs, live lives. They do not kill. Bryan Kohberger is not defined by those labels. He's defined by what he did. And even he knew it. In court, when he pled guilty, he said clearly those conditions, they're part of him. He knew exactly what he was doing. Idaho law wouldn't have let him plead insanity anyway. That's almost beside the point. He didn't try to use these diagnoses as an excuse, although his attorneys did certainly bring them up. He never did go to trial. Ann Taylor at one point did float the autism as a reason to spare him the death penalty, but in the end it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. He took the plea, 4 guilty counts, 4 life sentences, no parole. So what's left? Just that question. Why? Maybe that's the hardest part, because no label, no acronym, no diagnosis will ever give us a satisfying answer. What we're left with is a man who studied evil and chose to embody it. A man who let his darkest impulses out into the world. The diagnoses are footnotes. The murders are the headline. And no matter what was scribbled on that form in court, the reality is simpler. 4 promising young lives are gone because Bryan Kohberger wanted them gone. That's the story. That's the why. It has nothing to do with autism, OCD, ADHD, or ARFID. It has everything to do with choice. A choice that Bryan Kohberger made, and a choice that Bryan Kohberger will live with for the rest of his short, pathetic life behind bars. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube if that's where you're watching us. If not, just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi and you will find us there. Wherever you're downloading podcasts, press subscribe as well so you don't miss any of our coverage on this and the many cases we got for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. Love to get your thoughts. Let me know. Until next time, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast. This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
Things are not looking the greatest going forward for Rex Heuermann, in case you were playing the odds on that one of will he get off? Will he somehow not make it to trial? What will take place here? Well, the DNA, the judge has said it's coming in. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But in case you're new to this case, we'll kind of break down how this all began. And Stacey and Todd, as I kind of go through this, if you got questions, bring anything up, just feel free to stop me. It all goes back to around 2010, December 11th. So the first body was found. Suffolk County police officer John Melia and his canine partner Blue, originally searching for missing S worker Shannon Gilbert, who was discovered May 1st, 2010, found skeletal remains wrapped up in a burlap sack along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. Melissa Bartholomew, 24, was from the Bronx. Then December 13th of 2010, 3 more bodies were found within a quarter mile of that first discovery, you know, like you do at the place where you like to go picnicking on the beach. Bodies. All of them wrapped in burlap, positioned similarly. Victims identified as Maureen Brainerd Barnes, who was 25. She's been missing since 2007. Megan Waterman, who was 22, missing since 2010. And Amber Lynn Costello, who was 27, missing since September of 2010. The Gilgo 4 is what they were known as. All petite, between 5 and 5'5", and all were S workers who advertised on Craigslist. Stacey, you're safe. You're too tall.
No, I'm not.
You're not? You're not?
I'm not. I'm 4'9", and he loved a petite woman.
He just said 5'5", but between 5 and 5'5", you are too tall for him.
I don't know. I thought I read something that he liked him under that. So I have conflicting information that keeps me awake at night and keeps a knife next to my bed for that reason.
I'm sure you do. And it's probably just somebody's Twitter post from like years
probably.
ago. Well, Twitter post says this. Okay. That's not it's not real.
Terrifying though. He had a specific type of woman that he targeted.
He did, without a doubt. And I'm saying, according to the ones he picked, you wouldn't have been one of them.
So do you think that he would like come up to women, you know, when you go to the carnival and they have that little stick?
Oh, God. Like the hockey stick that they'll like,
that they're
when
like,
you get on the bumper cars.
Yeah, you must be this tall.
I had violent fantasies about beating the person down who had that stick as a child.
Both, honey.
Because I really wanted to get on the bumper cars at Bay Beach in Green Bay. And I was always too short for that thing. And then by the time I was tall enough, I don't think we went anymore. So yeah, I was like 7 and I wanted to grab that hockey stick and like, oh, who can't ride the bumper cars now, bitch? Anyway. 6 more sets of remains were discovered at different disposal methods, suggest possible multiple killers in all of this. Between the Long Island serial killer, Gilgo, they're mixed in together. We know Rex is very likely a good chunk of them. But innocent until proven guilty, right? That's how we do things here. The bodies found included dismembered remains, a toddler, an Asian male in women's clothing. Some victims had been there since 1996. Wow. Yeah. So we started with 4, we go to 10. And then from 2011 to 2022, guess what? Nothing's happening. Weird, isn't it? You find all these bodies and there's evidence here. There's burlap sacks, DNA on those burlap sacks. There's one person that seems to not be allowing this investigation to go much far forward. Oh, James Burke. He was the Suffolk County Police Chief from 2012 to 2015. He actively blocked the FBI's involvement in the case, like you do when the FBI wants to get involved and figure out who's murdering people. I wonder why you would want to block the FBI from being involved in a case. Might that lead somewhere to you and something you might be doing?
Gosh.
Well, he was later convicted of beating a suspect and conspiracy. His actions delayed the investigation by years. Oh, and by the way, they found a lot of questionable shit in his trunk. Like a lot of stuff that may go far beyond the beating. But it was there. We don't know what. He hasn't been charged with any of that. But it certainly did point to him being involved in this scene over here. That maybe if the FBI started looking, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's name popped up. Not necessarily for murdering ass workers, but, just being in a scene that, as the chief of police, you probably don't want to be part of. After Melissa Barthélemy disappeared in 2009, her 15-year-old sister, Amanda, received calls for 5 weeks. The caller used Melissa's phone and made sexual taunting remarks. On the other end, the calls came from Times Square area, Penn Station, and they were too brief to trace. One of the calls, do you know that what your sister is doing? She's a whore, is what the caller said. And then they all went cold. No DNA match in the database. Burner phones that couldn't be traced. Institutional resistance was going on, and the victims were S workers. And well, because of that, unfortunately, there's less media attention, less resources put towards it, and unfortunately, that's just how it's at for many, many years. And then in 2022, new leadership came in, and so did new technology. A new task force was created. The police commissioner, Rodney Harrison, took over and created the first real multi-agency force with the FBI, the state police of Suffolk County, PD's, DA's office. They all were working together. They said, yeah, the case is solvable because there were so many pieces. Then they started digging. March 14th of 2022, there's a Chevy Avalanche they wanted to get into. Witnesses from 2010 had seen Amber Costello leave with a man in a first-generation Chevy Avalanche. New York State Police investigator ran that through the database. Well, Rex Heuermann happened to own that exact vehicle. Google Maps Street View from 2011 confirms it at his house. Kind of a big moment in that observation. And then secret surveillance began. 16 months of covert surveillance. The team discovered Heuermann is obsessively Googling the case. Over 200 searches about the investigation, victims. Why hasn't the killer been caught? The DA said, we knew we were playing before an audience of one. The killer was watching them investigate him. So who is Rex Heuermann? He's born in 1962, lived an entire life at 105 First Avenue in Massapequa Park. Literally grew up in the house that he ended up living in. That creepy one that we've talked about and seen so many horrible photos of, that Asa was at, the kids were at for all that time. He's 6'4", 280 plus pounds, kind of looks like an ogre. He's a Manhattan architect. He founded RH Consultants and Associates in 1994. Clients included American Airlines, Target, Catholic Charities. He's a father as well. His dad, Father Theodore, died when he was 13. He's been married twice, Elizabeth Ryan in 1990, and then Asa Elrup in 1996. His 2 kids, Victoria and Christopher. His wife, well, she filed for divorce right after he was arrested. But for the reasons you think. Because wanted to protect assets. She's still all up in there.
She is Team Rex.
To a scary degree. At least when they made the documentary that was released not that long ago, she was very, very much about Rex. Let's take a look back at at some of that, because this is some of the most troubling pieces of this case, I think, was the fact that she did the doc. This is the 50 Cent G Unit Productions doc. And we're going to take a look at a clip from it. Let's start with number one, and we can talk about it on the other end. This is Asa talking about, how she speaks with him when in prison and being very careful about what she says and why. Let's take a look.
I'm talking to him all the time, but he only has a certain amount of time to be able to make calls. So I can't get too comfortable talking to him about things that are going to hurt him.
What would hurt him? What are the things that hurt him?
Telling him that I love him.
That's a weird one.
That will hurt him.
Wow.
The two of us were married for 27 years. We were 100% part of each other's lives. Does everybody really believe everything they hear?
Heuermann is a demon.
Charged as a serial killer.
Do you really believe everything that's being said?
This man is a sexual sadist.
He enjoyed torturing his victims.
Well, we didn't buy it.
She didn't buy it. Her coworkers, or his coworkers, were afraid of him, describing him as aggressive, unsettling, extremely knowledgeable, though, about building codes.
Yeah.
but very Jekyll and Hyde in terms of personality. Let's unpack that a little bit. What the hell does it mean that you're afraid to tell your husband that you love him?
That should be one of the most bonding things that you do, with somebody that you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're with somebody who is averse to that, you need to look closer to what the fuck is going on. This is a person who is not absorbing positive emotion. He's thriving off of the opposite, whatever the opposite is. This is a man who likes pain and allegedly and torture and things like that, instead of compassion and support and safety and calm and peace. All the things that come with love, Yeah. This is scary, that if you tell him that you love him, it hurts him. What's going on inside that heart?
It's a really interesting observation on that, where he gets what a healthy person would get by the opposite.
Exactly. And that is what's feeding him.
Yeah, which also would feed exactly what he did, allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a very troubled individual.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way of, I have not thought of it that way before, but that's a very, I think, accurate way of answering that question. And it totally plays into his behavior, at least if this is the man that we think he is. Let's take another look. This is Asa in that doc talking about, she likes seeing him in court and doesn't quite believe all this is actually going on. Number 2.
Court and see Rex.
Todd's having a snack.
Staring at me.
You're good.
That should do it. All of these girls that were found on Gilgo Beach, they were girls. They were somebody's daughter. They were somebody's sister. Nobody deserves what they got. But Rex was not seeing prostitutes. He's a family man.
Jesus.
He didn't do this. I would need to hear it from Rex, face to face, that he killed these girls for me to believe it. My husband never kept me out of anything.
That's Asa talking about what an utter complete denial. I mean, she is compartmentalized. I mean, it's not like there's not evidence here that he was doing these things. I mean, it's pretty much common. There's living ass workers who've come out and said, yeah, went on a date with him. He was creepy. He was this, he was that. There's people who can confirm that. They found a document in his basement. It was a blueprint for murder labeled HK 2002-04.
Just like an architect would create.
And it's there's 4 sections in it. One of the sections, and I'm just kind of going through an abbreviated version of it here, he titled Problems. So these are things he feels he needs to look at a piece of paper to remind himself of so he doesn't get caught. DNA.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints. He knew what could catch him, and he also needed a note to remind him that these are things, these are issues. Very, engineer-like, but very rigid in thinking. Not, it's got to be here, or you're gonna miss it. And then there's supplies, Asa. The supplies list. Your husband had literally this on the same sheet of paper. It was sectioned off. Rope. Heavy rope for neck. Light rope broke is literally what he put on the piece of paper. So he had a light rope that broke, and he had to remind himself that you better get the heavy one next time.
Yeah, next time you're at Home Depot, don't get the cheap shit. Go for the expensive stuff. It's worth it.
Even if it's on sale. Even if you are going to get a free bottle of Windex with it. I'm sorry, it's not worth it. You need to get the heavier rope.
Yeah.
Tart plastic drop cloths, saw, cutting tools.
This isn't a weekend project where you're building a deck.
No, he was not. Especially when you get the saw and the cutting tools with a side of acid and lye. I'm pretty sure he's not he's not going up north to take some codfish and soak it in lye and then have a little lutefisk dinner at the end of the day.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a Norwegian.
Not quite.
No.
There are some Norwegians who are like, oh my God, yeah, that sounds delicious, doesn't it? I'm Norwegian. I've never had it in my life. There's something that sounds not appetizing about eating rehydrated fish and poison.
It's not good. Growing up in Minnesota,
big deal.
Minneapolis. Hello, I am all Minneapolis here, but that is the most disgusting food I've ever had in my life. And you can argue with me in our comment section all you like. I'm not changing my mind.
I don't know that you're going to get a lot of arguments about lutefisk. Has anyone had lutefisk? Let us know in the comments section. It's literally it's dried cod, correct? Is it codfish, I believe, and then it's rehydrated in lye.
Yeah,
and then it's rinsed for like days to get the lye out of it. And then essentially you have this like gelatinous rehydrated fish. And the funny part is about it, this was not necessarily a traditional food in Norway either. This was like survival stuff off the boat. And but somehow everybody in Wisconsin and Michigan and Minnesota are like, let's eat poison fish.
It's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always at the table on Christmas for some reason.
And it smells like death.
Oh, it does.
Nothing like ruining the smell of anything with a little bit of lutefisk.
Yeah,
it's not like. Then he has another section on here after he's done contemplating his family lutefisk recipe. Just labeled DS, dump sites. So he's putting little parentheses around things. Mill Road. The Marionville location, Ocean Parkway, behind Mooney Airport, And then he has GPS coordinates included with pre-planned disposal locations. And then another section that says targets. References to small women are in here.
Yep.
Get rid of drills. Remove ID marks. And the
Like
victim
tattoos?
selection criteria.
Piercing?
Yeah.
What, I mean...
Head and hands, too.
Oh, God.
Remove trace DNA. Remove tattoo marks. Small is good, he puts in parentheses again. So, Asa, your husband couldn't have done this. Then why does he have this document in your basement? This doesn't seem like, I'm bored on a Sunday. Let me just put some crazy notes down about a weekend project I have coming up. Get sleep before hunt. Too tired to create problems.
So this is literally, this man...
Verbatim notes.
Yeah, this man was basically in primal mode.
Yeah, completely. More sleep and noise control equals more playtime. He's talking to himself like a child, too. More playtime, because that's what he called the time with the victims, dead or alive. Use push pins to hang drop cloths from ceiling. Like, he actually needed reminders of how to do this. He's like, what do I affix this with? Duct tape? Maybe I should use push pins. Let me check the notes. Yep, the notes say push pins. What kind of, this is a hard brain for me to wrap my mind around. And how it's firing.
No spontaneity in his thought. He needs a checklist. He can't go off the grid and go, well, I remember the last time I did this. This is what I need to do. He needs the checklist.
There's no spontaneity in his thoughts, but for such a crime that is so off the board of normal, healthy human thinking, that's what makes you almost think that there would be more, I don't know, adventurous thoughts or not needing to write down such details. One would think, I don't know why you'd need these type of notes. They really seem to point out the obvious, unless this is just like a checklist that he's going to go over after the fact and go, yep, did this, did that. Oh, shoot, better cut off that limb because might someone find that? I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering how he's using this. Is he using this like as he goes through the crime? Yeah. Build tables with crossbar. The methodical nature of a serial killer in parentheses. And then there's Mindhunter references. He documents quotes from John Douglas's book. The more you do, the more clues you give. So he's studied FBI profiling techniques, and he's trying to be one step ahead. And at the end of the day, you know what? He got away with this for more than a decade. So how did they eventually catch this guy? Well, there was a DNA breakthrough eventually, a pizza crust. January 26 of 23. Surveillance team been watching him. He finally left some of his goo from his mouth on a pizza crust. They collected it, and guess what? That DNA matches the hair follicles that were on some of the burlap sacks. And here's the thing. It wasn't just his hair that was on the burlap sacks. It was his wife's. It was his daughter's. It was his. So it came from a familial location, like probably the garage or that hoarder house that they lived in, which is not super surprising when you look at just how decrepit the house was, that everybody's hair is going to be on everything. I don't think they had weekly cleaners. I don't think they had monthly. I don't think they had decade. I don't think they cleaned. I don't think it'd been cleaned for a decade at least or longer. So that DNA that was found matched. And that's been the big argument this whole time in this case has been about the DNA and is it admissible in this case? Because it's a different way that they now have of identifying the DNA and bringing the strands essentially to life, if you will, and can they be brought into court? It's a new way of technology of doing the ID and the sequencing on the DNA. And it's going to be one of the first times that it is used in a criminal case. The court just ruled that the other day. Of course, the defense of Heuermann is going, well, wait, this has never been used before. You know what? There's always a first.
That's what science is. It learns, it does better, it improves.
There's always a first time for this. And it's going to be used because it is reliable. And it's been shown to be reliable many times over. So the whole genome sequencing is going to be in. What does it exactly do? Well, basically, it simplifies it. Jurors may not understand the science, but they'll be able to understand that it's very, very definitive. It reinforces the credibility by being so precise. It pulled matches from hairs without roots. That means it's more definitive than ways that we've had in the past. We're able to dig in deeper than we have in the past. And it should be a little concerning for anyone else out there who thinks, well, they don't have that part of my DNA, or they know that they have this piece of my DNA over here, but there's no way of retrieving the information off of it.
Yes, again.
Guess again, kids. There's a lot of ways to get that now. So that's in. And you know, I know Asa denies everything after watching that documentary. I think Asa is in complete denial, but I also don't know that she knew anything.
I wonder if she was so badly abused in this situation that she has no idea that she was abused. It's just her norm.
I think that's the reality. I mean, and she's connected to him in a way that goes to really weirdly unhealthy levels. I want to get another clip here ready in a second, Todd. We're going to go to the number 3 one in just a few seconds. This is one that one of the creepiest thing that she says. Rex is away. Rex has been arrested. Rex has been charged. We've seen the horrific crimes that he's been charged with. And Asa feels, I'm going to go on camera and say this. And I don't know if she's just completely oblivious that you're not going to get sympathy here, but maybe just as oblivious as she was that she was living with this man for all these years and what he was up to. Let's take a look.
When we got back home, after they raided it, it was not recognizable. No beds, no clothes. Our bathroom sink was broken. They should have actually deemed our house uninhabitable.
Oh, look at this.
It was as if they were trying to leave us for dead.
They broke that, They just pulled this out of the wall.
They pulled it out of the wall. I think that's what that hole in the wall was from.
What is in here?
Garbage, nothing.
Well, something was in here because it's not in here now. The kids, they were crying themselves to sleep before we actually got into the house. We were all doing it. Fear, anxiety, guilt, all of those emotions are all going like a roller coaster, rolling and rolling and rolling. But we needed to come home. They had a lot of sentimental stuff in the house. And I still feel Rex is here.
I still feel Rex is here. As they showed the sentimental things in the house that look like offerings to Satan.
I was wondering about some of that, like, oh, that's some interesting decoration.
They got their stuff here.
I wanted to zoom in on that prescription bottle. I'm big on drugs. And I know that's a weird statement to make, but
you heard it here first.
You want to find what's on the bottle.
I do. I want to see. I think you can find out. I mean, if you want to learn about somebody, find out what medications they're on.
It's true.
Am I wrong?
No. Well, Stacy, that clip is in your email. It's number 3. So you can, after we're off the air, you can take a look at it and see if you can get the medical code off of it and identify. I don't know if we could see the name on it of whose it was either. So I don't know if we know if it was Rex's, if it was his wife's, or whose.
And I do want to preface, I'm not profiling people, but I think you can find out a lot about their lifestyle based on their medications.
I'm going to guess it might have been a statin or 8.
Probably, probably, but then he's eating pizza. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I eat pizza. I mean, I take one.
I'm on a statin too, and you should see the shit I eat. So
yeah, it's not like it really influences my life probably the way it should,
right.
But
it's got a partial RX number on it, and you just see the last name. You don't see whose it is.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
Sorry, Stacy. You can't figure out the person's meds.
I have ways.
Oh, God, that's good to know.
Yeah, no shit. Because it never. Okay, well, all of my medications are in my personal bathroom that guests do not go into. So I don't have like a community bathroom where the medication is. But you're one of those people, aren't you, that does go and look? You don't?
I don't.
You don't open the medical.
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't believe you for it.
I don't. Honest to God, I don't. I've been probably 7 or 8 times in somebody's bathroom in the last week. Somebody that I'm just seeing, and I have not looked.
But isn't that the person you should look at? Because this could become something.
Yes. Look, you're ignoring possible red flags. You just don't want to find the red flags. You're like, I'm enjoying this. I don't want the red flags. And opening this door, Pandora's box, you're going to be like, holy shit. But the thing is, you got to be careful with that because there's stuff that people take daily. There's stuff that you used to take. There's stuff that maybe you got for a small period of time. And when I absolutely hate painkillers and shit like that. Like I'll take Tylenol as much as I can if I need a painkiller for something. I do not like any sort of opiates, anything like that. But I get there are places and time for them when you're in some sort of immense pain. But it also are very difficult to get off of if you take them for even a short period of time. So I do have like some leftovers from surgeries and things like that. And I keep them basically for apocalyptic situations.
Right?
Where it's like, well,
you cut a limb off and the ambulance has taken 10 minutes. I'm going to take a Vicodin.
Or like it's civil unrest where you can't go to the doctor and you need something for, something horrible were to happen. You got it. It's not something I'm taking as like a Tic Tac every day. So you got to be careful with that. But no, I mean, I don't do that, but it's something I wish I would have. It would have probably saved me some time. Actually, no, it wouldn't have, because these were unmedicated people who needed to be medicated.
Who needed the medication. That's the thing. And that's where I am in this, is that I want to hear it from the person.
Yeah. Because
I don't want those mistrust issues. I want to be able to say, hey, can you tell me what you're on? Because that's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Are you on a heart medication? And I need to know that you might drop at any second.
Sure.
These are important things to know. So it's not just, oh my God, is he psychotic? No. Is there something I need to know if I'm going to spend time around you?
I agree.
God, shut up.
I agree. I think you should. It should be on everybody's dating profile and such as well, where it's like, what do you like to do? Here's what I take. Look, I am not anti-medication by any stretch of the meaning. I take stuff. I think it's healthy, and when done responsibly, it can be very good. So don't anybody take it as negative. And the moron on chat who was like, that's racist to talk about medication, go find another channel because I just blocked you.
Really?
Because you're insane. What? I'm just not. And that should be a note to any, like, we have great audiences and they say good stuff. But the second you start saying stupid shit, you're just going to be blocked. We don't really give a shit. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, that's insane. So no, I mean, is it ethical to go through people's medical care? No.
No.
Do you kind of wish you do it but I think the reality though is, if I were to do that today, I mean, not today, but if I were to be single out there dating, which I'm not, I'm in a committed relationship, and I were to look, I think seeing something in there that was proactive would be a positive. It'd be like, oh, they're aware and they got some stuff under control. They're not just floating in the wind, and you know,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're getting every day.
That the lavender essential oil is going to take care of it.
Note to self: never date again. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
I've written that note to myself a few times. Haven't followed it well, but yeah.
That's been the scariest part of my divorce journey. Is holy shit, am I going to have to download these fucking apps? Mm-hmm. I've heard nothing but horror stories, probably because of the stuff that we cover. I'm thinking I'm going to run into a Rex Heuermann out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I got lucky and I don't have to do it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and
look, somebody from your past. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, it's talk to your doctor about your medications. Yeah. And make sure that that you're taking the right stuff. And it's good to check in.
Advice.
It's good to check in every now and then. And this is something that I think is important to know. If some people don't know this, and I'm not a medical doctor and I can't give medical advice, see store for details. Medications in time, your body does start to become resistant to them. Mm-hmm. Essentially, your liver figures it out and is like, yeah, this isn't do shit after time. So it is good every now and then to go get your checkup. It's called a med check and go
every year. Is
this still working for me? Or more frequently, especially with medicines like SSRIs and anything that's going to be for, you know, your mental health. It should be even done more frequently than that. But it's good because you want to make sure that it's actually working and not working against you. So anyway, no way anti-medication. But no, it's not for everybody though either. So as essential oils are. Just,
oh, they're lovely. I just don't know that they cure any medical conditions.
Little eucalyptus and the hate goes away. You know.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the latest on Rex Heuermann. The DNA is going in. We still do not have a date yet for the actual trial. Maybe 2026. There is another hearing that is scheduled for, I believe, later in the month, but it's not about the DNA anymore because that is in. So it'll be fascinating to see where this goes. This is a case that's literally going to probably be almost 20 some years. If we go back to 96 on one of the murders, we're talking like 3 decades in the making, or almost longer, really. God.
Big case.
Jesus. Wow. So yeah, there you go. Give us your thoughts on all that in the comment section. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you are watching us or listening to us. We are live every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Central on YouTube. Just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. X and Facebook is also where you can find us. If you want to interact, check out the YouTube feed. That's where you're going to get the best chance of getting your comments on the air and us actually being able to see them as we do the show. So please do that and hit subscribe. Until next time, for Stacy, for Todd, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.